everybody. Welcome to Bestie Book Reviews. I'm here with my bestie, Mandy.
And I'm here with my bestie, Jessica.
So it's that time of the week. It's time for our 1-minute book recs. This is where we go over all the books that we read in the past week with 1-minute synopses for each book. But before we do that, Mandy.
Yes, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. We have some fun giveaways that will be coming up soon because we are almost at 2,000. So hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any announcements on how that giveaway is going to work.
Okay. So how was your reading week?
My reading week was really good. I had some phenomenal reads. So I wrote myself a note. I have 10 books that I read, but 4 were in a series. So I have 7 books to talk about.
Okay. I had an average week. I mean, there were some that are really good in the beginning, and then they were okay. It was an okay week. It was like a 4-star week, I think. But I read 9. One was a reread that I had to do for reasons. So we're not going to talk about it. So I'll talk about 8.
Good
so
day.
I get to go first. Does that make you happy?
It does.
I'm back. All right. So in the true holiday spirit, I had to read a holiday book that I put off all year. Mandy, you've already read this one, but I picked up The Pucking Around Christmas by C.R. Jane because, why not? So this book takes place between book 2 and book 3 in her Pucking Wrong series. This kind of has the whole crew. So you see Disney, you see Ari, and you see Lincoln in these. And in this book, it's just a small Christmas novella. Monroe, so Lincoln finds out that Monroe doesn't like Christmas because of some trauma from her past when she was a little girl. And so the whole team sets out to make Christmas magical for her, and it's full of fun smut and our boys that we love in the circle of trust. And really, that is all that I can tell you about it. There's not a lot to say about that one. So, I gave it a solid 4 stars. Very much enjoyed it. I listened to the audio. It was a quick read. So.
I totally forgot to set the timer. Sorry.
That's okay. It wasn't very long, so we're good.
You were not. I love that one.
Oh. I do too. It was good. It's good. It was nice to visit the boys again for the holidays.
Yes.
So,
yeah, it's a great holiday read.
Yeah. So, okay. What do you got?
Okay, my first book is called Mine to Worship by Cameron Clare. This is part of her Veteran Canine Team series. This is book number 6. Excuse me. So Liam is, and again, I forgot to start the timer. What is wrong with me today? Liam is wounded in combat, and his best friend in the army is killed during this whole situation. And so he has a lot of guilt because of that. He comes home, he has to recover, and he struggles. So he kind of goes on a bender that lasts a while. And finally, he gets his stuff together and he decides that he needs to kind of man up and go visit his best buddies in the army's sister. They had planned this vacation together. They were going to go to the beach and all this stuff. And then everything had gone down. So he goes to talk to her because he knows that she's alone. Like I can't remember the exact reason, but their family is no longer, like, it was just the 2 of them. And so he goes to find her and he ends up on an elevator that gets stuck, and he's with, coincidentally, Charity, the girl he's going to see. And being stuck on the elevator triggers some serious PTSD for him. And this starts their romance. I really enjoyed it. 4 stars.
Okay. All right. So the next book I have is one that I read like at the beginning of 2022. It was a while ago. It's been a while since I read it. The audio came out this week, and I had completely forgot about this book. And so when I saw that the audio was out, I was like, ooh, I think I gave it 5 stars back then. So let's see what the audio is like. Let's see if it's still a 5-star read. So that is Cold-Blooded Alpha by Eve Bale. Eve Bale. So this is about Tallis and Dane. So this is a shifter romance. Tallis, her parents died when she was young. Her uncle is now the alpha of her pack, and her uncle treats her like garbage. She is she's low down on the totem pole, and she is basically his maid, but he's also very abusive towards her. So definitely check trigger warnings. But the book starts out at her like her mating ritual. She's been given to Dane, and he is from another pack, and he is going to take her to his pack. She doesn't fit in when she gets there. Dane is somewhat of a bully towards her. And there's a lot of angst in this. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. She's not accepted. Like, she's trying to find her role in this pack, but she's also trying to keep her latent wolf from popping out for very specific reasons. And you start to catch on as you're going, like, there is something missing here. I really love Asshole Dane. I think he's great. This one does end on a cliffhanger because the second book is the continuation of their story. And that second book will be out on audio, I think next month. I've got it in my pre-orders. The audio was great. It's still a 5-star read. I loved it. It was a really good shifter book, and it's not one that you hear about. So if you like shifters and some angst, this does it.
You timed that perfectly.
Did I?
Yeah.
Cool.
Good job.
Thank you. Okay.
All right. My next read is my next 4 books. And I started the Vegas Aces Wide Receiver series last week. And so this week I guess it's be 2 weeks ago. But anyways, this past week I read the 4 of them.
Okay.
So let's talk about it. So Vegas Aces Wide Receiver. I think I have book 5 on top here by Lisa Suzanne. So I told you a little bit about this series last. I don't really know how to hold these, so I'll just pick up one. Okay, so I told you about this series. I mean, look at those abs too. Anyway, I told you about this series a little bit last week. We have Tristan. He is married to Savannah, who I called a gold digging bitch, which I stand by that. And she gets even worse as the series goes on, and she refuses to divorce him. She manipulates him. She blackmails him. It's awful. And then we have Tessa. Tessa and Tristan used to know each other. They were high school sweethearts when Tessa abruptly disappeared out of his life and left him devastated. Well, they are now going to both end up back in their hometown, and there's going to be some reconnection happening. But Tessa was seeing a guy that she works with and ends up getting pregnant. And I won't give any spoilers away, but let's just say that didn't go so well. So she's back home pregnant, trying to figure out what she's going to do with her life. She knows she's going to keep the baby, but what does this mean? What does this look like? And her and Tristan reconnect. And you would just hope that that would be the end, but it's not, because of Savannah, the gold digging bitch, and other forces, obviously, contribute. So I love the series. I finished it 5 stars.
Okay.
Right. I love Lisa Suzanne's sports world.
Mm-hmm. I know you do. I have some pre-orders from her for Phoenix because she has a rock star world and there's other woman drama, and you know that I'm all about the other woman drama. Yes. And she didn't have those in Vegas, and so I'm waiting until February when we go to Phoenix to pick them up, and then I'll read them after that. So
I've only read one of the Rockstar books, and then I just kind of got hooked into the whole sports world. I'm getting close to, I think, having all the sports books done, so then I'm going to go back over to some of her other ones.
They all look good. The Rockstar one looks good.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
So I may not get out of the sports world as soon as I think I'm going to. Who knows? What were you saying?
Just that it looks good. Like I don't remember what I was saying. The Rockstar series, it looks, there's like a lot of good tropes. When I'm looking at all of them, because I think I ordered the 3, there were good tropes in all 3. So
I've read one of them. I would like to say it was the first one, but I often don't read in order, which is a problem for me. And I can't. It was a 5-star review, but a read, but I can't remember which one it was.
I often read the second book for some reason if it's a standalone series, and then go back to the beginning. So I feel you there. Yeah. So for my next book, though, we can stay on together, because this was my convincing my bestie Mandy, and I just did this one where she convinced me to read holiday romances, which I'm a Scrooge, and so it doesn't always work that way. But I read My Favorite Holiday by Lauren Blakely. And so this, guys, you can go back and watch the video, but I highly recommend the audio for this one. Like, highly, highly, highly recommend it. It's full cast narration. It's amazing. But this is a single dad, Christmas, fake dating, boss employee. So just go check that out. Go check the video.
Samantha Brantmore, Jason Clark, Teddy Hamilton. I mean, the list goes on. It is,
Mhm. I knew
the
you would have
audio
all
is
their
just
names.
phenomenal.
I was like, I know Teddy's in there. I know Samantha's in there. And that's all I paid attention to. Because,
Yeah.
favorites. Yeah.
It's
Okay,
really good
so
audio.
yeah. Do you want me to go into my next one? Or do you want to go to the next one?
You can go into your next one.
Okay.
You're
So
ready.
the next book that I read was, this is a dark holiday romance. And this is Bought by Santa. And it is by B. Liebeck. So this is a full-length novel. This isn't a novella, but it's full-length. It's dark Christmas. There's a lot of breeding in this one. There's some mafia. So this is about Carolina and Nicholas. So Nicholas is a part of the mafia, and his dad is in charge. He doesn't really like his dad, but his dad has come to him and said, "Hey, you're the heir. You're in charge. You're going to be in charge next. And you need an heir. Like, you need a baby." And because Nicholas is a moron, he's like, "I will get you one by Christmas." And this is like at the beginning of December or around Thanksgiving. He's like, I will have an heir by Christmas. And I'm like, dude, ovulation doesn't always work that well. Okay, whatever. He doesn't even have a woman at this point. So that is where Carolina comes in. She is taking care of her sister. Her parents are gone. Her sister was injured in a car accident that killed the father, and is now paralyzed, and she's living in a facility because she's having a hard time taking care of her, and so she has to live in a facility. And so Carolina's having a hard time making ends meet. There's not a lot of money there. She is taken to doing some cam girl stuff, not explicit, just kind of like showing underwear kind of a thing. One night she's at a club. She leaves the club. She sees something she's not supposed to see. Somebody in a Santa suit is offing someone that he shouldn't be offing, which that is Nicholas. And so he takes her when she sees that. And then he's like, "Look, I'll pay your bills. I'll do whatever, but you're going to be my baby mama." And so he forces her into that relationship and into being his broodmare, basically. So this is, I gave it 4 stars. There were some, like, you have to go into this with an open mind. I mean, these are going to be a little wonky at certain times, but I still enjoyed the story. So there you go. You laughing at me?
Oh, gosh. Okay.
I know. All right, next.
Okay, my next book is The Heartbreak List by Misty Murphy.
Okay.
This is a phenomenal read. I loved it so much. Just know that you need tissues, probably like a box or 2 of Kleenex. So we have Theo. Theo is living his life with drugs, booze, women, and he's obviously numbing pain that this bad boy has that he is trying to, I don't even think outrun is the right word. He's just numbing his life. And he meets Endy. Endy just wants to live her life, but she has a terminal illness. She has a brain tumor. She's engaged. She's been planning her wedding. And Gray is now stifling her. Like, he is suffocating her with how much he wants her to live and how much he wants her to do this and that and like all of these treatments and things. And she just wants to embrace life and kind of live it. And she feels just suffocated around her family and friends. And that's when Theo kind of shows up and they start a friendship, which turns into a lot more. But how does it really turn into a lot more when you have a terminal illness? Like, things get, interesting. I love this book so much. I cried, but oh my God, I loved it. It was 5 stars. It will be a top read of the year. There is a second book in this series. Do not look at anything about the second book until you read the first book, because the second book is different, but it will give you some spoilers. So don't look at it. Okay? Just trust me on that. But please go read this book. It is incredible.
Okay.
Okay.
So the next book that I have to talk about is Virtuous Lies by Hallie Jenner. So this is a new to me author. This is Mafia, but this is about Bianca and Vincent. So this gets a little confusing, but Bianca, they're both in the Mafia. Bianca is 18 and her sister, who I think if I remember it was 16, are both engaged to 2 different guys. One is, so Bianca's engaged to this guy that's outside of the family, and then her sister is engaged to the consigliere of the Italian mafia, which is what they're a part of. Well, Bianca wants to protect her sister because apparently this guy that her sister is engaged to is an abusive jerk, and for lack of a better term, she does not want her sister to be in that situation. So she goes to this guy and she talks to him, and then tries to get her sister to tries to get out of the relationship for her sister. And she makes everybody think that she and him had sex, where he actually ended up dead that night for whatever reasons. So as far as the familia knows, she did. She tries to pretend that she is in love with that person. So then the sister ends up having to marry the one that she was gonna have to marry. Anyhow, when that happens, the brother to the guy who was murdered is now promoted as consigliere, and that is Vincent. And so her family forces her to marry Vincent, who they believe she murdered his brother. And so it forces that relationship, that marriage. I loved it. All this happens in the very first couple of chapters. So you get right into it and then you go, but it was so good. I gave it 4.5 stars. There was just a few little things that kept it from being a 5, but I really liked it. Really liked it. It's the first book in her Lies of the Underworld series. I want to read the rest.
That's always good when you find a series and you want to keep going.
Dude, it was good. This audio just came out, or audio is out for this one, but not for the others. So just in case anybody wants to know. It was yummy. Okay. What do you got next?
Okay, next I have Fall for You by Haley. Is it Soul? Soul? S-O-L.
I'd say Soul.
Okay.
But I could be wrong. So, okay.
So this is about Bailey. Bailey is anti-marriage, anti all of that commitment stuff. And one of her very good friends is getting married and asks her to be the maid of honor. So she kind of takes this role on and slowly, multiple times, tries to convince her friend not to get married while hooking up with the best man. And so that's Garrett. And so Bailey and Garrett spend a lot of time together. And she kind of falls for Garrett, but she's so fixated on not wanting her friend to get married that she sort of sabotages a lot of relationships. And so it gets very complicated and very messy. I rated this 3 stars. There were a few things that kind of took me out of the story when she is being asked to be the maid of honor in this wedding, but yet she doesn't know anybody that is she doesn't this is in modern time, and she doesn't know anybody that is associated with the wedding, like the bride's family. She doesn't know the fiance. So I found that a little bit too hard. It just took me a little bit out of the story. And her obsession with not wanting her friend to get married started to come off a little immature at times, instead of coming from a place of concern and caring. It sort of felt selfish and immature at times. So if you really like a lot of drama, you will like this one. And I love the cover. I think it's really pretty. All right.
Okay. So I went back to The Disciples by Cassandra Robbins. That's her MC. I read I read a different one earlier. The first book in the series, A Tone is what I read this week. Earlier in the year, and I really liked it. So I was like, let's continue on with that. And so I picked up A Tone by Cassandra Robbins. So this is an MC romance. This is a kind of a second chance, but this poor guy has been through the ringer. So this is about Charlize and David, or Poet is what he's called, his road name. And so David's grown up in the MC. His whole life has been a part of the MC. That's all he knows. That's where his future is going to lie. And in this small town, he has ran into Charlize. Her parents run the local diner, and he has a thing for her. They have this attraction, but she's not of age yet. And so he waits until she turns 18, and then he makes his move. And so on the day he makes his move, she's just turned 18, tragedy strikes. He is a single father. And so something horrific happens, which causes him to leave town. and he gets into drugs and he gets into a lot of trouble, and his life is just derailed. And then we fast forward 9 years later when he comes back to town, and he's back in town for a purpose, but he also runs into Charlize, and that's where things take off from there. So this is an angsty MC romance. It's got, you know, some sad things that happen to it. I gave it 3.5 stars. I think that was me, though, not necessarily the book, because I was doing some other stuff. I think I kind of missed a few things when I was listening to it. It's supposed to be really angsty. I didn't get the angst. It was still good. I'm still going to continue on. It might have just been my mood at the time. So I do think it was still good. It just didn't hit right in all the spots it was supposed to. So, you know, again, that probably was me, though. I'm just saying. Okay, what else you got?
All right. I have the final book in the Vegas Aces, the Coach series. So this is an ALC that I have. The last audiobook will come out on December 10th, which is Tuesday. And so then all 5 will be out here.
Okay.
Like basically right now.
Mm-hmm.
So let me set my timer. So this is the conclusion to Lincoln and Jolene's story. It is narrated by Samantha Brentmore and Aaron Shedlock. They do a phenomenal job with the narration. Jolene is a journalist, and she has just been promoted and assigned to work with the Vegas Aces, and she is told to like make besties with the coach. Unfortunately for her, though, the coach is Lincoln Nash, who she had quite the epic relationship with back in the day, like high school teenagers type thing, when it abruptly ended and her heart was broken. And she doesn't understand that Lincoln has a lot of secrets about what actually went on back there. And so the two of them are now thrown in each other's orbit. But there is a lot of stuff like this family rivalry and all of this history that's kind of working against them, as well as other forces in their world. So this is, I love the whole series. I rated it 5 stars. It's really hard to talk about the last book in this series without giving a whole bunch of stuff away. So I'm just going to kind of sum up the series again. But if you enjoy sports romance, you will really like this one. It doesn't focus as heavily on like football because he's the coach. So there's like a lot of coaching aspects. We see a lot of the familiar players from the team and that sort of thing. But I really, really enjoyed this one.
Okay. All right. So you told me about this book, so I decided to go read it. I didn't realize that Tyler Page had a Christmas novella, a dark Christmas novella. So I went and grabbed this. So this is All I Want for Christmas is Boo. And Tyler says at the beginning of this one to please go into this with an open mind. Like, she understands that certain things don't work a certain way, you know, like, but you have to leave reality at the door. And I did that and I loved it. So this is about Lumen and Tobias. So at Christmas, a year before the book really gets going, Lumen's 2 sisters and her parents are with her. They're at a mall, and her sisters have signed her up for a mystery date boudoir photo shoot where you go in. It's like a blind date boudoir photo shoot. And so she goes to do that, and she meets Tobias there. They have instant chemistry. The pictures are being taken. It's a whole thing. And then when it's over, he gives her his number and says, you know, call me. And as she walks out of the studio, a guy runs past her covered in blood. And she hears someone say that there has been a crazy person in the mall, and they had a knife and they were killing people. And there were 4 people right there, right close to her. And she knows immediately that that is her family. And so now the book takes place a year later. She's become an agoraphobic. She cannot leave the house, and she is holed up in a cabin. Tobias has not quite forgotten her. Tobias may be a little bit of a stalker, and he may be coming around. So, you know, it gets crazy. Definitely check the triggers, because it is probably one of the darker Christmas books, but it is very, very, very good. And obviously those are some heavy things that you're dealing with at the beginning of this book too. So, yeah. What?
It's just funny.
Did I say when I rated it? I gave it a solid 4. I mean, it's only like 80 pages, so there's not a lot to go on there, but it was good.
All right. Hey.
Okay.
Okay. My next book is Hope Rising by Vanessa Sheets. This was another phenomenal read this week. So, this is about Grace. This takes place in the 90s, and a lot of what I'm going to tell you is also on the back of the book. So, it takes place in the 90s. Grace is abducted, and while she's in captivity, she didn't know this, but she quickly learns that she is actually pregnant. And so while being held captive, she gives birth and has a daughter. And she has now been there for a long time. Like her daughter is 3. So you can like we're going on close to 4 years. When somebody moves in to kind of the rundown house, they live I basically picture this as like out in the middle of nowhere, and there's this lone house by them, and it is run down and somebody moves in. And so she feels like this is her one chance to escape. And so Declan is our guy next door. Declan is got a lot of his own trauma that he is carrying with him from things that have gone wrong. It's very raw, very real, what has happened to him. And he unwillingly, but not like he unwillingly helps them escape, but not, oh, unwilling is not the right word. He ends up helping. He is very willing when he realizes they need help to escape, but he doesn't know they need help. He knows something's awry, but when they need him, he steps right up. So unwilling was not the right word. So let's just move on from that blunder. I was trying to say like he doesn't like plan their escape for them, if that makes sense. So the majority of this story is both of them trying to rebuild their lives after they're just very broken people because of things that have happened, and they're trying to rebuild their lives. But unfortunately, things in the past don't like to stay in the past. So, oh my gosh, this was such a great read. It's very angsty. I needed a lot of tissue. I loved it. Loved it. I highly recommend it. If you like dark romance, if you like that angsty feeling, and if you like a hero that is not perfect, this is like the best read for you. I must caution you, it is difficult to read at times. So just be prepared with some tissues. But, oh, I love books that are sometimes difficult to read because they really pull those emotions so much more.
I love the books where you can't quite figure out how it's ever going to work out because there's so much angst and there's so much dark and trauma and whatever. And you're like, how are they ever going to make this work? Ever.
That was my reading week summed up, Jessica.
Yeah.
Terminal illness. Dealing with a lot. I mean, think of the emotional. I don't like the word baggage because that just, it makes it
trauma.
Like, yeah, the emotional trauma, I guess, is the best way from being held like this. I loved it. I also really, really appreciated the author did not scapegoat in this, and that there is no like during their relation. How do I want to say this without giving stuff away? There's no I should probably just shut up. Sometimes I think authors will get creative because they don't always want to iron out all of the details of a couple working through things. So they'll do like a time jump, or they'll break the couple up. She does not scapegoat that. I'll just say that.
Okay. All right.
Loved it.
Okay.
Great reading week.
All right. So now we got to do my last book, which is another dark Christmas book as well. It's just, 'tis the season for darkness and Christmas. So this is Really Should Stay by Karen Hart. And so this is about Tamron and Nicholas, which is always the name of the male league or male, main male character in these Christmas books for some odd reason. Anyhow, this is a teacher-student second chance. Yeah. So Tamron was Nicholas's teacher. She was an English teacher. She was 24. He was 19. things happened between them after he turned 19. But she still got found out at Christmas time and lost her job. And now he also murdered somebody for her. She saw him kill her ex-boyfriend because he's crazy. He is crazy. And so now we are 9 years later. She had to move to a different town. She's had to run away from that life that she had because everybody found out that she'd had an affair with a student. And, there's this guy missing as well because, Nicholas killed him. And Nicholas's brother, who this is the second book, you can read them as standalones, but the brother has the first book. They're twins. They're crazy. The brother kidnaps Tamron and brings her to Nicholas as his Christmas present. Things go from there. So there were some grammatical errors and things in here that kind of drove me a little nuts. I still gave it 3.75 stars. I had to knock something down from those grammatical errors because they take me out of the story every time, but I still enjoyed it quite a bit. So there you go. Okay. So we're done. That was our reading week.
Okay. Well, there you have it.
Yeah.
Great reads for you guys to go pick up. In the comments, how's life? What's new? Tell us all the things. You can tell us anything random, or you can tell us about your reading week. Whatever you want to tell us. Maybe you've read a good book. Maybe you're thinking about reading a good book. Anything you want to tell us, share those in the comments. We love chatting and interacting with you down there. And if we are slow to respond, please understand YouTube has changed the way comments show up on my phone now and on yours, like in the app. And so it is a little misleading. Like it'll look like all the comments are taken care of. And then I'll come home and there'll be like some that, like if I look on my computer, they've been sitting there for like a day.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, but it showed me that they were all caught up. So anyways, so please don't feel like we're ignoring you. We're just trying to figure out the new system on how it
I don't like the updates at all. I don't like them at all. It's really weird. So yeah. So all right.
Okay. Well, make sure you check back on Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays for new videos from us. And always, hit that notification button because we do like to put videos out pretty much every Wednesday too.
That's how it's been going lately. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.